Trust is a fragile thing. For 19-year-old Michelle Sanders, it was the one thing that defined her relationship with her mother, Karen. A quiet home in the suburbs, an unbreakable mother-daughter bond. Until one evening, Michelle's world unraveled with a discovery so dark it changed everything. Her mother, Karen, had crossed a line that no mother should ever cross, with her daughter's boyfriend. What would you do if the one person you trusted most took the ultimate betrayal, and there was nowhere to turn? Karen Sanders and her daughter Michelle shared what many saw as the quintessential bond. Karen had raised Michelle alone, in a modest, well-kept suburban home, a quiet refuge nestled in a neighborhood where everyone seemed to know everyone. The pair were inseparable, each the other's confidant, sharing everything from childhood stories to dreams for the future. Karen's laughter would echo through their home, and Michelle, a gentle and determined spirit, had always felt safe in her mother's presence. Trust wasn't just a word, it was the very fabric of their lives. Michelle was stepping into adulthood with ambitious dreams, eager to leave her mark on the world. College awaited, and her eyes sparkled when she spoke about it, her mind filled with aspirations for a brighter future. Her boyfriend, Michael, had recently entered her life, and he quickly became a source of support and excitement for her. With him, she felt that rush of young love, the thrill of something new. To Michelle, life felt as though it was finally coming together, like the pieces of a long-awaited puzzle. Yet behind Karen's warm smiles and open embrace, some had seen glimpses of another side, a side she rarely allowed to surface. There had been whispers among neighbors, murmurs of Karen's past as a single mother who had struggled, alone, against a harsh world. In Michelle's early childhood, Karen had kept a rotating set of friends, faces that drifted in and out without any explanation. Then there were her disappearances, occasions when she would leave without a word, returning with vague stories and a distracted expression. Michelle never questioned her mother's past. Karen was her mother, her rock. But was she ready to see the truth, the real history behind the woman she idolized? Had she understood that sometimes the past never truly stays in the past? The trust that bound them might not withstand the secrets that had been hiding just beneath the surface. Do you believe that some secrets are better left hidden? Or is the truth always worth the cost? Karen's behavior grew stranger by the day, like pieces of a puzzle that didn't quite fit. One night, Michelle heard faint murmurs from the hallway. She crept to her mother's door, pressing her ear close, and caught snippets of a conversation, a man's voice on the other end, barely audible. Karen's tone was soft, almost tender, yet burdened by something Michelle couldn't quite place. As she stepped back, Karen ended the call abruptly, the sudden silence punctuating Michelle's growing unease. Days later, while sitting with Michael at a cafe, Michelle noticed he was distracted, his gaze shifting nervously. She caught him glancing at his phone more than usual, fingers brushing over the screen before slipping it quickly into his pocket. When she asked him about it, he brushed it off with a hurried smile, his response as distant as his recent behavior. But her heart sank as she wondered what was really behind that guarded look. The pattern repeated itself: secretive phone calls from Karen, strange excuses from Michael, and Michelle left alone to piece together a mystery that seemed to twist with each new clue. One evening, she returned home to see Michael's car parked outside, the headlights flickering as he waited in the driveway. Michelle slowed, watching as her mother stepped out, her hand brushing his arm in a gesture that felt too familiar, too intimate. Michelle's heart pounded as she tried to make sense of what she was witnessing. Her trust, the foundation of everything she believed about her family, began to crumble, leaving her in a state of confusion and dread. If you were Michelle, would you confront them? Or would you wait, hoping against hope that it was all a misunderstanding? The unraveling came on a quiet Saturday afternoon. Michelle had been out running errands, but something led her back home, an instinct she couldn't ignore. As she walked through the front door, the house was still. She moved toward the living room, and there, carelessly forgotten on the coffee table, was her mother's phone, screen illuminated with a message preview. Michelle's eyes froze on the text. "I can't stop thinking about last night. Love, Michael." The shock washed over her, icy and numbing. Her hands trembled as she picked up the phone, scrolling through a string of messages that left no room for doubt. Texts and photos, moments shared in secret, all of it there, unmistakable proof of the betrayal she had sensed but never imagined. Her mother and her boyfriend. Together. Michelle's heart raced, her breathing shallow. Every memory, every laugh, every warm moment with Karen and Michael came crashing down, now hollowed by a betrayal too deep to comprehend. She dropped the phone, stumbling back, a strangled cry escaping her. How could they? The very people she loved, the people she trusted most. Her world blurred as tears filled her eyes, pain and anger erupting in waves. But she couldn't let this stand. Grabbing her keys, she drove to confront Michael first, her mind whirling, thoughts tangled in rage and disbelief. She found him at his apartment, his expression shifting from surprise to dread as he saw her face, flushed and furious. Michelle's voice trembled as she demanded answers. "How could you? How could you do this to me? To us?" Michael stumbled over his words, avoiding her gaze, fumbling for explanations that fell flat. He stammered out apologies, empty and shallow, that only stoked her anger. The man she thought she knew, who had promised her so much, now seemed a stranger. The confrontation left Michelle drained, but her rage was far from spent. She returned home, where Karen was waiting, her expression nervous, as if she sensed what was coming. Michelle wasted no time, thrusting the phone into her mother's hands, her voice thick with betrayal. "Explain this, Mom. Explain how you could do this, with him." Karen's face paled, words faltering as she tried to explain, to rationalize the irrational. She reached out, but Michelle recoiled, the pain too fresh, too raw. Emotions erupted in heated exchanges, years of unspoken resentments surfacing like wounds torn open. Karen revealed regrets from her past, excuses that only deepened the hurt. She claimed loneliness, a craving for something she thought she'd lost forever, but Michelle saw only betrayal in her eyes. Their shouting filled the house, voices breaking with the weight of broken trust. Michelle's anger mixed with sadness, as if mourning the death of the life she had once known. She looked at her mother, her rock, her only family, and wondered if she could ever forgive. Have you ever confronted a betrayal like this? Would you find it in yourself to forgive, or would you walk away, leaving the wreckage behind? Narrator's voice, resolution. After the confrontation, Michelle's world lay in ruins. Days passed in a fog of silence, each moment punctuated by the heaviness of betrayal. The home she shared with her mother now felt like a place of fractured memories, haunted by words they could never take back. Michelle avoided Karen's gaze, each encounter laced with the memory of betrayal. Meals went uneaten, conversations were cut short, and any semblance of their once close bond was now just a painful reminder of trust shattered beyond repair. Michelle struggled with a storm of emotions. Rage simmered just beneath the surface, clashing with a deep sadness that seemed to seep into every corner of her life. She felt betrayed not only by her mother, the one person who was supposed to protect her, but also by Michael, whose absence now left a hollow ache. Friends noticed the change in her, the way she retreated, growing distant and guarded, as if building walls to keep out the possibility of any future pain. Karen, meanwhile, remained cloistered in her own world of regret. She attempted to reach out, leaving notes on Michelle's door, cooking meals that went untouched, and offering quiet apologies that seemed to dissipate into the tense air. Her remorse was palpable, but words failed her. She watched as her daughter drifted further away, the distance between them growing like a chasm filled with regrets and broken promises. One night, Michelle received an unexpected call from Michael's family. He was missing, they said, gone without a trace. No one had seen or heard from him in days. His apartment was untouched, his car left in its usual spot, and his phone went unanswered. It was as if he had vanished into thin air. The news of Michael's disappearance sent ripples through Michelle's life once again. Confusion and disbelief mingled with a strange, unsettling feeling. Had he simply fled, unable to face the wreckage he'd caused? Or was there something more at play? In her darkest moments, Michelle found herself wondering if her mother knew more than she was letting on. She recalled Karen's strange behavior, the late-night calls, the secretive way she had been acting even before the affair came to light. Karen's reaction to Michael's disappearance was a mix of shock and something else, something Michelle couldn't quite identify. When she asked her mother about it, Karen was evasive, her eyes darting away, her answers curt and measured. Doubts began to gnaw at Michelle's mind, questions that had no easy answers. Could Karen have played a role in his sudden disappearance? Or was it possible that Michelle herself, in her pain and confusion, had done something she couldn't remember? The thought haunted her, a dark possibility that lingered at the edges of her consciousness. The days stretched on with no word of Michael. Friends and family organized searches, put up posters, and shared his photo online, but all efforts led to dead ends. The silence was maddening, each day without answers deepening the mystery. Michelle couldn't shake the feeling that her mother was hiding something, her behavior too controlled, too rehearsed. But each time she confronted her, Karen denied any knowledge, her face a mask of sorrow and denial. The tension between them reached a boiling point one night when Michelle confronted Karen directly. "Do you know what happened to him? Did you do something?" Karen's face was unreadable, her silence stretching out in a way that made Michelle's heart pound. Finally, Karen spoke, her voice low, almost a whisper. "Michelle, some things are better left unsaid." The words hung in the air, a cryptic answer that left Michelle more unsettled than ever. She was left with a question that echoed in her mind, a question with no clear answer. What really happened to Michael? What do you think, viewers? Did Karen have something to do with Michael's disappearance, or was it something else altogether? Share your theories below. Do you think Michelle will ever uncover the truth, or are some secrets destined to remain hidden forever?